Since the dawn of humanity, people have always been fascinated by the whole idea of the end times, cataclysmic events that could just rock our world and, wipe the slate clean for humanity. Now, the Bible has given us some seriously spine-tingling visions of what could be the ultimate reckoning. We're talking apocalyptic horsemen, biblically accurate angels, the whole shebang. Now, if we were to take all that biblical apocalypse stuff literally, well, we might as well just call it quits now, because we're in for a hellish time on Earth like nothing we've ever seen. So welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. My name is AJ, which, fun fact, stands for Angelo Jesus. Not that you care. And today we're diving into the top 10 end-of-the-world predictions from the Bible. Now, I know this is a top 10, but I'm going to try to explain the events as they happen chronologically, starting with number 10, the preliminary ways you can avoid Armageddon. Before we dive into the horrors of the end, some of you might be wondering if and how you can escape the final fate of the earth without, leaving it. So according to the final book of the Bible, titled The Apocalypse of John, and no, that's not the same as John the Baptist, nor is it the John who wrote the fourth gospel, just some dude named John. You see, this entire set of events was bestowed onto John by a figure who many believe to be Jesus Christ himself, albeit with a double-edged sword protruding out of his mouth, which, by the way, is hardly the weirdest part of this book. But before laying out the prophecy, sword-mouthed Jesus gives John a little report card on the citizens of Earth in the form of 7 letters to the 7 churches of Asia. And it should be noted that in this context, the number 7 is supposed to symbolize completeness, meaning that these letters aren't addressed to the people of the time, but is actually meant for all people across all time, including you, so listen up. First, you're told to overcome adversity, which, let's be real, sounds kind of like an empty gesture when you're about to head into the freaking end of the world, but I digress, because if you do, you'll get to snack off the tree of life, which is pretty cool. Then we're told to keep our faith through trials, and if we do, we score a crown of life, and to ignore Satan's club and not to fear prison. We're also told to quit hanging out with the Nicolaitans, which is oddly specific. Next, if you haven't heard, patience and hard work are nice, but that prophetess promoting immorality and hanky-panky has gotta go. And for those of you who do, you'll be given an iron rod with which you can dash nations to pieces. Epic. Then we're told to stay vigilant and to keep our garments clean, because your name's in the book of life and we don't want any erasing happening. We're also told that we're rocking it with strength and honesty, and that to be weary of people trying to swipe the crowns of our heads. Metaphorically, I'm not talking about the royal family here. And finally, those of you who are lukewarm better pick a side. Lukewarm in this case means you neither are a believer nor are you an atheist, and for some reason, being an agnostic really pisses off God the most. So time to turn up the zeal and repent pronto, for which you'll snag a seat next to Jesus. Otherwise, Jesus Christ himself will spew you from his mouth. Imagine that. At number 9 are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Let's get into it. The beginning of the end is marked by the opening of the 7 sacred seals, the first 4 of which each unleash one of 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Now, like most things in the Bible, the details are quite vague, but we definitely get the sense that these cowboys don't play nice. The first one's the least intimidating out of the bunch, said to be a crowned rider on a white horse carrying a bow with which to conquer. Following conquest is the horseman of war, who appears on a red horse and is granted a great sword to take peace from the earth. As you history buffs know, with war comes famine, and so the next dude who rides a black horse is ordered to make barley and wheat go through inflation, but is explicitly told to leave oil and wine alone for some reason. Finally, the 4th seal is opened, revealing a rider on a pale horse. This rider is the only one given a name, dubbed Death, or the Grim Reaper if you will, and wherever the Reaper goes, Hades follows. Yes, the same Hades from the Greek pantheon for some reason. And unlike the first 3 horsemen, who are each given a weapon or tool of some sort, this last guy is given a quarter of the earth to eliminate with sword, hunger, and disease, and monsters. Now, before I get into the cataclysms of cosmic proportions that forever change the topography of Earth, until it is destroyed. If you're enjoying the video so far, do me a favor and let YouTube know you want to see more of our content by giving the video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell. As promised, number 8 are the cataclysms. World-changing events of epic proportions are littered throughout the text, the first of which beginning with the opening of the 6th seal. For those of you who are keeping track, the 5th seal is pretty insignificant, just the souls of the martyrs begging to be avenged, to which God essentially replies, "Hold my beer." We start with a great earthquake, during which the sun becomes pitch black and the moon turns red. What do celestial bodies have to do with shifting tectonic plates, you ask me? I have no idea. Then every mountain and island is moved out of its place, forcing people of Earth to retreat into caves for some reason. After the seventh seal is opened, an angel is given a gold censer filled with heavenly fire and throws it to the earth. What follows are peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Next, 7 heavenly trumpets are sounded, the first causing hail, fire, and blood to rain down on the earth, scorching a third of all of Earth's plant life. Next, the planet is hit with a meteor, which is described in the text as a great burning mountain falling from the sky and landing in the ocean, eliminating a third of the sea creatures and a third of ships at sea. Similarly, a great star named Wormwood falls from heaven and poisons a third of all rivers and springs. When the 4th trumpet sounds, a third of the sun, the moon, and stars are dimmed, creating complete darkness for a third of the day and night. Lots of thirds there. Now, there'll be a few more catastrophes like these as we continue forward, but for now, God decides to take a break with number 7, Abaddon the Destroyer, the Angel of the Abyss. Can't quite have a biblical end of days without a swarm of locusts tearing it up. Well, I mean, to call these things locusts is a bit of an understatement. It's more like a swarm of tiny demons. Let me explain. Essentially, with the sound of the 5th trumpet, a star falls to the earth, creating a bottomless pit from which smoke arises like a gigantic furnace to darken the sun and sky. Again. And from out of the smoke, locusts with scorpion stingers and human faces and lion's teeth dressed in tiny iron chest plates. Please pull up a depiction editor if you can. Good lord, look at that. Gotta love the biblically accurate. The locust abominations are joined by their leader, the Angel of the Abyss, who's referred to as Abaddon in Hebrew and Apollyon in Greek. Abaddon meaning destroyer, and Abaddon translating either to destruction or doom, so definitely not the kind of angel you'd want to bump into. Speaking of evil angels, at number 6 are the 4 angels of the Euphrates River. Now, we're not giving many details about these particular angels, other than the fact that they're held captive at the ancient Euphrates River. Now, they behave exactly like demons, and considering demonic spirits are just angels who've turned to the dark side, calling these beings bound to the Euphrates angels seems like we're giving them a bit more credit than they deserve. At least the last dude was literally named Apollyon. Anyways, the role these 4 angels play once released is to unalive a third of all mankind through a vast cavalry of unfathomable magnitude. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a book of Revelations without some terrifying amalgamations, so naturally, instead of riding regular old horses, the army of mounts are depicted as having snake-like tails and lion heads which breathe fire and smoke and sulfur, because why not? At number 5 is Satan. It wouldn't be the biblical end of the world if the devil himself weren't there to crash the party. John here depicts old Lucy as an enormous 7-headed dragon with 10 horns and 7 crowns. I'm not even going to try to pretend what those particular numbers mean, because if I had to guess, I'd say that given that this is Satan, the 7 crowns could represent the 7 princes of hell, otherwise known as the 7 deadly sins. Now, I could be wrong, and there are definitely more satisfying explanations out there that I'd be happy to cover in another video, God willing. Now, we know this dragon is Lucy because John explicitly identifies the dragon as that old serpent, Satan himself, but even if he didn't, we could still make this assumption given that one of the first things this dragon does is drag a third of the stars in heaven with his tail and throws them down to earth, a reference to how Satan was joined by a third of all the angels when they were kicked out of heaven. So to sum it up, Lucy's hellbent on waging war upon and annihilating the people of God, and to do so, he employs the help of number 4, the beast and the false prophet. The first of the 2 beasts emerges from the sea and is sporting 7 heads and 10 horns, but this time rocking 10 crowns as opposed to Satan's 7. The beast itself took on the form of a leopard with bear paws and lion's mouths. One of the 7 heads has a distinguishing wound, which looks as though it should have been fatal, but the wound is healed, and the head is very much alive. The heathens of the world marvel over this beast, who's given the power and authority to rule over all of mankind and talk a bunch of smack about God. Next, another beast emerges from the earth, but this one's only got 1 head. Widely regarded as the false prophet, or the Antichrist, though John never explicitly calls him this beast is described as having 2 horns like a lamb, but the voice of a dragon. The second beast, which I'm just gonna call the Antichrist to make things easier, performs miracles for mankind and is given authority to command on behalf of the first beast. And so the Antichrist commands people to build a statue of the first beast and breathes life into that statue, allowing the statue of the first beast to speak and demand that all those who refuse to worship the image of the beast to be executed, and also forced everyone, young, old, rich, and poor, free or slaved, to receive a mark on their right hands or foreheads so that they could not buy or sell things unless they had the mark of the beast. And that, ladies and gents, is why the number 666, the mark of the beast, is associated with the devil. At number 3, the kingdom of evil. The final 7 plagues, which are described as 7 bowls poured onto the earth, anticlimactically enough, mostly serve to finish off what was left, with the previous plague being the manifestation of malignant and festering sores and boils to break out on those who carried the mark of the beast and worshipped its image. Bowl 2 is poured onto the sea, turning it to blood and eliminating all marine life. The third does the same with all fresh water, leaving the remaining inhabitants of Earth with nothing but bodily fluids to drink. The fourth bowl is poured onto the sun, allowing it to scorch people with fire. Bowl 5 shrouds the kingdom of evil in perpetual darkness, leaving the people gnawing at their tongues in agony for some reason. Now the 6th bowl is perhaps the most intriguing, and I'll break it down in just a second, but before I do, I just want to get out of the way that bowl number 7 causes a great earthquake and a heavy hailstorm, somehow resulting in every island and mountain completely disappearing from Earth. At number 2 is the Battle of Armageddon. Now let me quickly backtrack to bowl number 6, which saw the Euphrates River dry up completely, thus paving the way for the kings of the East to come and invade. It's during this time that the 3 demonic frogs, yes, you heard me right, emerge from the mouths of either beast and the dragon and go on to assemble the kings in a place called Armageddon in preparation for the battle against God. And in the other corner of the ring, we have the army of God, consisting of 144,000 pure of heart from the 12 tribes of Israel, who will ultimately emerge victorious over the beast, culminating with the destruction of New Babylon. Sidebar, the Euphrates River is currently actively drying up at an alarming rate, so do with that info as you will. At number 1 is Judgment Day, the moment we've all been waiting for, the end of it all. Well, that is if you're on Team Satan. The beast and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire, representing a permanent state of being unalive, or the second unaliving, if that makes any sense. Now the dragon, on the other hand, is cast into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years, while the resurrected martyrs get to party with Christ in the meantime. Once a millennium has passed, the dragon is released and gathers the easily deceived for a final battle at the holy city, but the dragon and his army are defeated and finally cast into the lake of fire along with the wicked, the essence of death itself, and Hades, the Greek god of the underworld for some reason. And now that all the suffering in the state of unaliveness has been totally purged from the world, God himself comes to party with humanity. That pretty much wraps it up. As always, if there's a biblical prophecy of doom that you think I've missed, feel free to let me know down in the comments. This has been AJ with Most Amazing, and I'll catch you all in another video. Later.